Hello and welcome to part 3 of our IRS Report Analyzer step-by-step tutorials. Today you will learn everything about creating groups for comparison. Grouping is an important feature and a precondition for statistical analysis. The files used in this tutorial are also available in the demo folder of your installation. I assume that you already have loaded a set of report files. If not, please check out the first part of our Report Analyzer tutorial on how to import test reports first. To create analysis groups, click on the Grouping tab. Report Analyzer uses groups for comparison. The groups can be built however you like, but you must create at least one group. In each group, all similar measurements are aggregated and statistically analyzed. Therefore, it is important to have comparable measurements. So if your measurements are basically similar, but the values differ between variants of your product, it will make sense to group it by these variants. In our demo, the sample data consists of many different product variants. The variant name is stored in the field part number, so I will create groups by part number. One way to do this is to simply drag the column header of part number to the grouping area above the table. As you can see, the data is now shaped in groups and the groups are named like the part number. This table is only a kind of preview of your group contents. The groups are not yet created. When you press the Add Groups button, every checked item is added to the groups. If nothing is selected, all visible items are added as new groups. Let's try this first. The lower area of the screen manages the existing groups and their content. As you can see, all groups visible in the preview area were now added as new groups. The number of groups is not limited, but you will get a warning above a certain count, because the graphs can only display a limited number of groups at a time. You can create as many groups as you like, and each execution can also be part of multiple groups. To delete a group, simply select it and press the Delete button. Let's repeat adding the groups, but this time we only select some groups and some partial content by using the checkboxes. First, delete all existing groups. Then we select only some groups and some single executions of the last group. Click on Add Groups. Now only the checked items were added. Groups are basically just a list of test executions. There is no restriction on how they are created. Instead of using the column header, you can create groups also by filtering. First, we need to drag the part number column header back to the table headers. You can also select Clear Grouping from the context menu. To demonstrate the filtering approach, let's create a group of executions with a nominal current higher than 200 ampere and 4 poles. In the nominal current column, click on the Filter button and check 250, 400 and 630 ampere. In the Number of Poles columns, select 4. Now the table view contains only matching items. Click on Add Groups to create a new group from this selection. You will see a new group in the list. Let's give this group a more descriptive name and call it 4 pole greater than 200 ampere. Go back to the Number of Poles column filter and select 3 instead of 4. Click on Add Groups again. Rename the new group to 3 pole greater than 200 ampere. Each group can also have a comment. This comment can optionally also be printed in the statistics report later. Repeat this action until you have created all required groups. You can also mix the approaches and combine header grouping with filtering and single selection. There might be situations where you have successfully created groups, but the group contains some executions you don't want to have there. For example, if the execution was aborted with an error or includes values out of range. No problem, you can still edit each group's content. Let's eliminate all executions with status, error, or terminated from our first group. Select the group, then open the filter panel of the result column. Check error and terminated, then click somewhere into the table to close the filter panel. Press Ctrl+A, and then press Delete. Now the group contains only valid execution results. To remove the filter setting, deactivate the checkbox or delete the whole filter by clicking on the small X in the lower right corner. As you can see, the filter for 3-pole greater than 200 ampere is still active in the preview table. If you need this filter often, you can also save this setting. Click on Save Filter Set. In the dialog box, enter a name for the filter set. We call it 3-pole greater than 200 ampere. Now this setting can be recalled anytime you need it. To save also the 4-pole selection, let's edit our filter. Click on the Edit Filter button in the lower right corner of the table. The filter editor opens. Change poles from 3 to 4 and click OK. Now the modified filter is active. Let's also save this for later reuse. Click on Save Filter Set again and name it 4-pole greater than 200 ampere. To recall the saved settings, simply use the drop-down box and select the filter you need. Filter settings are automatically saved and can be reused next application start. Let's take a look at the rest of the features on this page. The Manage Filter Sets dialog allows you to delete, import or export your existing filter settings. By importing or exporting the settings from or to XML files, you can back up your settings or reuse them on another computer. The dialog, Assignments, shows a list of all loaded executions and how many and which groups an element is in. This can be helpful if you want to make sure you haven't forgotten any groups or want to avoid overlapping groups. Okay, to be honest, our created groups won't make much practical sense. To repeat the steps we learned, we will now delete the groups and recreate our part number groups. Do you remember how to do this? First, select the existing groups. Press Delete. Remove the filter. Now group by the column part number. But this time I show you another method. Right-click the column part number and choose Group by this column. Now check all except the last group and click on Add Groups. All checked groups were added. There is still one feature left. The dialog, Cleanup, will remove all executions from memory which are not part of any group. We did not add the last group, so 140 executions are currently unused. To get rid of them, click on Cleanup. Watch the total execution count. After confirming, the unst 140 executions are removed from memory. Now you know almost any feature of this page, but there are still some settings you should know about. Take a look at the created group names. The part number label was automatically added to the group name. In case you don't like this behavior, you can turn it off. Click on the Home button. Click on App Settings. Check Use Simplified Group Names. There are also other settings you should review, especially the analysis parameters. Be sure that these settings match your company rules before creating an analysis report. Click on Save, and then go back to the main window. Now delete all groups. Add the groups again and check their names. Now only the value is used instead of column name plus value. Probably you noticed that most tabs were deactivated when we entered the grouping page. Now that you learned almost everything about grouping and also created at least one group, the other tabs are enabled. In the next tutorial we will use our created groups for analysis, so please also watch this video. Wait, there is one last thing to do. We have put so much effort in importing, filtering and creating groups, that we don't want to repeat all these steps if we want to review this dataset again. Therefore you can save the complete report data, including all created groups, to a single dataset file. To do this, click the Home button. Click on Dataset, Save. Specify a location. Next time the application opens, you can simply click on your saved dataset and start your analysis. Congratulations! You reached the end of our tutorial on data shaping and grouping in IRS Report Analyzer. Be sure to check out our other videos as well. Thanks for watching.